All right, let us now talk about C strips and P strips. So, the US Treasury actually lets us trade these payments, these cash flows separately. So, if you want to trade the coupon separate, then there are C strips that we can buy and sell for each of those coupons separately. If we want to trade the principal only of a certain bond, then those are called P strips. Also, I think an important point to note over here is that if the treasury wants to recombine the bond which was previously stripped, so they will have to first buy back the P strip for that, because the bond's identity remains attached to its P strip. And then they can buy C strips from the same bond or other bonds as well. The C strips are sort of interchangeable between bonds, but the bond's identity stays attached to its P strip. Alright, now you could use these different strips to actually look for arbitrage opportunities. So let's say there is a bond with a certain cash flow, right, that is there for that specific bond, and then you could replicate that exact same cash flow using different strips depending on what are the dates and amounts of the cash flow coming in on this bond. So you could exactly replicate that using strips and then see if they are in the same exact same price or not, because if they are having a different price, two cash flows should have the same price. If they're not, that means there's an arbitrage opportunity and you could make a risk-free profit here if the transaction cost for buying and selling those securities is less than the difference in their price. Now, what is day count convention? So if you're buying a security for a certain interest rate that, let's say, it's quoting a 5% rate, but you're not going to be holding it for the full 365 days, maybe you're going to be holding it for 182 days. So this is how you figure out, okay, how much return am I going to make on this? So days that you're holding for, so that's the holding period, and days for the total reference. So usually it's for 1 year. Interest rates are quoted for the full year. So the reference is going to be that 1 year, and your holding period is the number of days you're holding for. Now here I've used 182 and 365. This is like an actual, which means the actual number of days that I'm going to hold this for and the actual number of days in that year, right? It could be 366 as well if it's a leap year. But different countries actually follow different day count conventions. Some countries might be following 3360, which means I'll just take every month to be having 30 days and I'll just take the full year having 360 days. Some countries might be doing actual and then 365, right? That might be the case as well. Some might be doing an actual. So this is something you need to keep an eye out for, right? For example, Canada, Australia, New Zealand are following an actual 365. Also, by the way, the same country can have two different day count conventions for different parts of the market. So, for example, US Treasury bills, which is your money market instruments, is following actual 360, whereas your capital market, which is US Treasury bonds, is doing actual. So, just be a little bit careful with that. Right, let's wrap up this chapter now. We talked about a discount factor, very simple, straightforward, that the relationship between a present value and the future value is you can multiply the future value to the discount factor and bring it down to the present value. Or alternatively, you can divide the present value with the discount factor and calculate the future value. The law of one price means that two sets of cash flows, right, which are identical. So if the cash flows are identical, then in terms of their price, they should be the same. Now, when I say cash flows are identical, the dates, the certainty of those cash flows, everything should be the same. Only then they should be at the exact same price. If they are not, that means the law of one price is being violated and therefore an arbitrage opportunity could be there. Now, how do you identify this? Of course, you look for the difference in price, and if there is a difference in price, you will buy the lower priced one and you will short sell the higher priced one. You could replicate cash flows using strips. So if you have a bond with a certain cash flow, right, you want to replicate it to the letter, exact dates, exact amounts. Something that could be really helpful is strips in doing that, because they really give you an access to different payments of coupons and principals. So you don't have to actually buy a bond which will not only give you that principal but then all the coupon payments it will bring with it. So if you want a completely separate piecemeal sort of an approach, you can use strips for that. Right. And then once you replicate, you can check what is the rate and you can then work backwards. Now what that means is, so let's say if I have a bond XYZ over here, and then I am not using strips, I'm using other bonds, right? So let's say I'm using a bond which is 1 year maturity and then 2 years maturity and then 3 years maturity. First, this bond, let's say this is also a 3-year maturity bond, and this is going to mature in 2026, let's say. And then there is 2025 also, and there's 2024 also that the payments are coming in. So first I'm going to match my cash flow with this bond number 3, which is also maturing in 2026. Once I match these two cash flows, then I will match my 2025 cash flow with this second bond. Then I will match my 2024 cash flow with this first bond, and I'm working backwards. So that's what we're saying over here, that we work backwards starting with the latest as in the one which is going to mature the last. And it's a hassle, right? So I mean, if you use strips, it's much easier to do, because then when you buy this last bond, it's going to give you some coupon in the second year and it's going to give you some coupon in the first year as well. So you'll have to then adjust that and then see how much of the second bond you want to buy. And then after adjusting these two coupons, which will be coming from the third and the second bond, then you will see how much cash flow needs to be replicated for the first year after adjusting for the coupon of the second and third. And then you will be able to figure out, okay, how much of the first bond you need to buy. So that's a really complicated calculation, and we covered that in the third video, right? But I mean, if you use strips, that's much easier to do. Right, we talked about the clean and dirty price of the bond. So the clean price is just going to be relatively much stable, and the dirty price goes up as you get close to the coupon date, and then as the coupon is paid, it falls down back to the clean price, and it keeps volatile like this. So dirty price is volatile, clean price is stable. And how to calculate at any given point in time how much accrued interest is there in the dirty price? That is the coupon amount multiplied by the days since the last coupon divided by total days between coupons. And of course, we talked about the day count conventions. You have to understand that even within the same market, you might have US treasury bills following actual 360, US treasury bonds doing actual, and we have some corporate bonds following 30 360.